Hello students, welcome back in political science class. We were revising chapter number 1, that is constitution why and how. In the previous lecture we have discussed about what is constitution and what are the needs and functions of constitution. So today we will revise how this constitution was made and who played an important role in making the constitution. So as you can see here, Constituent Assembly. So Constituent Assembly was the main institution which was responsible, or the responsibility was given for this Constituent Assembly for making our constitution. So the first meeting of this Constituent Assembly that was held on 9 December 1946 under Cabinet Mission Plan. So as you can see, it was on 1946 before independence. The first meeting was held and that Constituent Assembly was formed. So you can see the members of this Constituent Assembly, they were selected on the basis of proportion, and the proportion was roughly, it was 1:10 lakh, means one member was selected per 10 lakh population. And the main communities which were given the representation in this Constituent Assembly, they were Muslim, Sikhs and Jainal. So these are the major communities which were the part of Constituent Assembly. So after a partition, as you know, after partition, the some part of India that went to Pakistan, as the some member of Constituent Assembly, they were went to Pakistan. So 299 members were left with the Indian Constituent Assembly after independence, but 284 members were present on the day of 26 November 1949, which is considered as when this constitution was made. So 284 members, they have signed on the final draft of constitution, and the constitution was made on 26 November 1949. It took 2 years, 11 months and 18 days, almost 3 years for our constitution makers to draft our constitution. Finally, on 26 January 1950, the constitution came into existence, or it was enforced on 26 January 1950. So you can see this 26 January, this 26 is very important, that is related to constitution. It was adopted on 26 November and it was implemented on 26 January. So this 26 January actually, the 26 January 1930 was very important role in this freedom movement. This 26 January 1930 was considered as the day for the Puran Swarajya. Unfortunately, we were not able to attend the complete independence on that day, but to taking the significance of that day, our freedom fighter, they have chosen that day for our constitution implementation. So as you know, our constitution, that is a mixture of rigidness and flexible. Our Indian constitution neither much rigid nor flexible, means it is some clause of our constitution, they can be amended with the simple majority, and some provisions of our constitution, they are enough rigid, and nobody can easily change them. So if you will see what is the procedure of amendment, so there are simply 3 procedures of amendment in our constitution. First of all, the question arises why there is a need of amendment. As you know, we have implemented our constitution on 26 January 1950, and now we are living in 2021. So there is a long journey after making of our constitution. So as per the need of the society or the need of the hour, some changes are required to meet the criteria for the present day. So that's why there is a procedure of amendment. As I told you earlier, our Indian constitution neither too flexible nor it's too rigid. So some provisions can be changed by the parliament very easily by the simple majority, and some provisions or article, they need the special majority for its amendment. Now in this chapter of constitution, last year some changes are made. Your second chapter of your book, that is fundamental right, that is also added in this first chapter, constitution why and how. So after this amendment, there is a question related to constitution, that is preamble. What do you mean by preamble? So preamble means, the preamble is like a means reflection, or it is a mirror image of constitution. Means this preamble reflects the basic ideals and philosophy. By reading the preamble, you can have an idea what are the objectives and what are the philosophy of the constitutions. Like we are democratic, socialist, secular, sovereign country. These are some of the key elements of our constitution which are mentioned in the preamble. So any people, by going through this preamble, can have an idea of the entire theme of the constitution. So in this chapter, next topic is fundamental rights. So fundamental rights you have studied in your junior classes also. We have total 6 fundamental rights which are given by our constitution. So why they are known as fundamental? Because they are mentioned in our constitution, and these rights, these fundamental rights, they are considered very urgent or very necessary for development of any human being. So as you know, what are these fundamental right? Let us revise again. So right to equality, right to liberty, right against exploitation, right to religious freedom, right to culture and education, and right to constitutional remedies. So all these are the fundamental right, and the last right, that is right to constitutional remedy, that is considered as the heart of all the rights. So what do you mean by that right to constitutional remedies? As I have discussed 5 above rights, that is right to equality, right to liberty, right against exploitation, right to religious freedom, and right to culture and education. If we are having any problem in getting these above these rights, we can move to court for claiming our rights, and that comes under right to constitutional remedies. Right to constitutional remedies means if we have any problem in acquiring any of the above rights, we can approach the court. So high court and supreme court both are eligible to hear the case related to fundamental right. Then we have fundamental duties. We all are familiar with our fundamental rights. We always talk about our fundamental right, but along with our fundamental rights, some fundamental duties are also mentioned in our constitution. But many of the people, sorry to say, many people, they are not aware with fundamental duties. So earlier we have 10 fundamental duties, like to respect our constitution, to maintain the fraternity or brotherhood feeling, to respect our national anthem, to respect our national flag. These are some of the fundamental duties. Now we have one more fundamental duty that is added. So total now we have 11 fundamental duties. So as fundamental rights are important, same the fundamental duties are also very important for a bona fide citizen of any country. Now the next topic is directive principle of state policy. So what do you mean by directive principle of state policy? That is also an important topic. As you know, in our constitution there are some guidelines which are given for the states for the welfare of society in terms of directive principle of state policy. So like the women empowerment, or to provide the basic facility to the people, they are under this directive principle of state policy, or to provide shelter to the orphanage children, or to provide the food to the poor people at economical rate. So these are some of the directive principle of state policy. So now the question arises, what is the difference between fundamental right and directive principle? So let us see what are the difference. Fundamental rights are justiciable and directive principle are not. Means in case if you are having any trouble with your fundamental rights, if government is creating any unnecessary obstacle in the way of your fundamental right, or any other agency is creating problem for your fundamental right, you can directly approach to the court. But in case of this fundamental rights, because they are not justiciable, they are totally on the discretion of the state government, you cannot approach to the court. Second is, fundamental rights are mandatory while directive principles are optional. Means the government don't have any choice in applying this fundamental rights, they are too mandatory, they are fixed. But this fundamental right, they are not fixed, they are not mandatory, they are optional, they are dependent on the government uh, policy. Then we have fundamental right concern the individual while directive principle concern the society. If we will see the nature of fundamental right, they are related to individual for any single person. But when we look at the directive principle, they are related to the society or the government. Next is, the aim of fundamental right is political democracy, but the directive principle is economic democracy. So we have various types of democracy, economic democracy and political democracy. So fundamental right, that comes under political democracy, and this directive principles, they comes under economical democracy. So this is all about the chapter. Keep reading the chapter and note down your doubts. See you soon in the next lecture. Till then, bye bye.